Welcome, everybody. I'm very excited to have you here at the Learning and Teaching Grant info session today. This is for our next round of Learning and Teaching Grants, and I'm very excited to have been part of this process for a couple different years now, and I always really enjoy being able to share information about the Learning and Teaching Grants, and also my favorite part, of course, is looking at all the exciting applications that come in, seeing the projects, seeing the presentations at the conference afterwards, and the follow-up reports. It's just really amazing to see the different and unique work that we're all doing here at the university. So, for myself, or for anybody who doesn't know, I'm Jason Lisi. I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. I'm also an Associate Professor at the School of Graphic Communications Management. I've been honored and privileged to be at this institution for just over 20 years. So I've been able to see a lot of change that has happened throughout, and really excited to see the new directions that we're going in. And maybe Sean, would you mind just introducing yourself as well?
Sure thing, Jason. And do you want me to do the land acknowledgement, or is someone else scheduled for that?
I'd be happy for you to do it if you would like.
It would be my pleasure. Welcome, everybody. We'll start with the university's land acknowledgement. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississauga, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. And I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you a little bit here today in a way that's peaceful, friendly, and respectful. So I'm pleased to be able to give some welcoming remarks here for the info session for the Learning and Teaching Grants. This program is funded by the Office of the Provost and the Vice-President Academic of TMU as part of the university's continued commitment to teaching excellence and pedagogical leadership. The teaching grants, learning and teaching grants support efforts to modify curriculum to improve the student learning experience and to promote EDIA both within and beyond our courses. The program funds projects that integrate research and evaluation into teaching practice, and it also supports the dissemination of that knowledge to the rest of TMU's teaching community. This year, and you'll hear much more about this in more detail in the info session here, we have 8 priority areas that we encourage applicants to consider when putting together their proposals. They are first-year experience, universal design for learning and open inclusive pedagogies, internationalization and global learning, experiential learning, digital learning, educational technology, Indigenous initiatives and decolonization, Black Studies curriculum and pedagogy, and student mental health and well-being. And I think that gives you a bit of a sense of the values of the institution, but also the spectrum of pedagogical innovation happening across all of our faculties at TMU. And I'm glad to see those of you who were able to join us here for this virtual session, and hope that you will be submitting a proposal to the Learning and Teaching Grant program. And as Jason said, we are eager to see those proposals. So thank you for being here, and I'll turn things back over to Jason.
Thanks, Sean. So just a little bit about today's agenda. So we're going to walk you through just an overview of the application process, a little bit of a discussion about research ethics, and I'm really excited to see this part in here because it is something that we get a lot of questions about throughout the process. So happy to have some colleagues here to talk about that today. And then we would definitely like to leave time at the end for you to be able to ask questions. And I have a lot of my colleagues here from the center, from all sorts of different resources areas, really here to help support you and answer any questions that you might have. Is this still me?
So no, I can jump in.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Ridgely, and I'm the manager at the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. And I am Zara, who you'll meet in a moment, and I are the administrators of this granting process. And as Jason noted, there are lots of people here from across the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching who are either in one way or another involved with LTGs through advice giving or through the evaluation of the program itself. So thank you. One of the pieces that we wanted to touch on today was just overviewing, while Sean reviewed the priority focus areas. Jason, you can go to the next slide, please. That the goals of the Learning and Teaching grant program are really meant to enable and support pedagogical experimentation and innovation in the classroom, specifically focusing on engaging learners and incorporating their perspectives and feedback. So these goals are woven in as I go through to both the priority focus areas, but also in the application, the way that we ask people who are applying to speak about their projects. So so part of the first goal is also has implications that could be applied across disciplines to support learning and teaching. So it's not just your idea and your course, but something that can actually be broadened potentially across the institution. Is dedicated to equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in the way that your project is designed, the way that it's disseminated and discussed. So part of the first goal is also about sharing it with the TMU community and beyond. So you'll notice that later on, Zara will talk a little bit about the expectation of presenting at the Learning and Teaching Conference that happens every May at TMU, and wanting it to reflect the values and visions outlined in the TMU academic plan. The second goal is creating opportunities for students to engage in research and develop their research skills. And the third is offer opportunities for pedagogical researchers to connect with one another and the TMU community. You'll notice that we've left quite a bit at the end of today's session for your questions and answers to maybe if you have ideas that you want to start discussing, that it provides another way for us to connect with each other around potential projects here at TMU. Next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zara Shah, the other administrator of the LTG program. Andrea and Jason and Sean have already provided a brief overview of the program itself, so I'm just going to jump into the general information regarding the grant. Our submission deadline for this round is January 31st, 2024 at 4 p.m. And we slightly changed the submission requirements for this year. Previously, we had a Google form and an application form. This year, we only have a Google form that acts like an application form. And within that form, there are different sections pertaining to the information that's needed for you to apply. There's grant proposal, there's other previous information, if you've held an LTG before or not. And within the Google form, there'll be two other documents that you'll need to attach. One is the budget and timeline form, and the other one is the signature form. Our grant funding range is between 5,000 and 12,000, and the budget form outlines how you can break down the funds into what you're proposing for. Is it better now, Susan? I'll try to speak louder. Do you want me to repeat anything, or does anybody want me to repeat any information?
It just sounds like you're really far away from the mic.
I think there's some trouble with my AirPods, but I'll speak louder.
Yeah, it's a bit muffly as well.
Okay, I'll try to speak clearer and louder. Thank you. Next slide, please.
So while Sean already reviewed each of the priority focus areas in terms of their titles, and I see Danielle and I both put the link into the chat, On the website, you will see the objective that was developed by each for each of these priority focus areas, as well as some examples of where you might either past projects set or ideas for future projects. I do want to take a pause here just to recognize many of the people who are on the call today as part of the ECI Collaborative Roundtable. The LTGs go through an evaluation every year where we review the process as well as the priority focus areas. And there's some wonderful collaborators here in this room that really helped us develop these focus areas. So if we have time later on in this session, I'm happy to go through them in more detail, but the link is in the chat if you'd like to look at those. Next slide.
So the eligibility requirements around who can apply for those grants, so the principal investigator has to be a TFA faculty member with an active contract for the entire grant cycle. However, the co-participants or the co-PIs can be anybody from our community, our faculty, contract lecturers, staff, and students. They are all eligible to be co-investigators on the grant. They must have an active contract during the duration of the grant period. Thank you.
So the application form, as Zara noted, is a Google form this year. I do want to, maybe Zara, you could put the link to the other document into the chat. It is made up of 6 main sections. The heft of the application, though, is in section 3, which is your project description. We have, if we have time, maybe it might be good as well today to go into it a little bit. There is an expectation of having a clear vision and understanding of how to embed meaningful equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility into your research design. And we have some really wonderful resources that have been developed around these pieces that I'm happy to share. I'll share in the chat as well. Or if you need or want to do a consultation with the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, you can do so, as well as if those pieces are unclear about the kind of questions you might be reflecting on as you develop your project description. The budget and the timeline and budget justification is one document that you upload to the Google form, as is the signature form as well. Next slide, please.
Just to talk a little bit about the budget justification form, which is the budget form. It's divided into 3 sections. One is for professional, if you're hiring any RAs, if you're getting any professional services, then the top part is for that. We have a travel portion and then a materials portion. Our travel and dissemination costs, the maximum cap for that is 20%. So your overall grant value, whatever your ask is, only 20% of that can go towards travel and dissemination. And then only 30% of that total ask can go towards materials and supply costs. So any equipment, software, all of that. However, we just need to make sure that whatever software you're requesting is not already offered by the university. And another thing to keep in mind is if you're requesting any equipment, any physical pieces of, for example, iPads or computers, that remains the property of the university, and you will be asked to return it at the end of the grant period. Thank you. The timeline form is a basic overview of the activities that will take place during the grant period. We've broken it down into different sections. So May to August is the first period where you can briefly write down your goals and activities as they will pertain to the grant. And then September to December, and then likewise January to April. This gives us a quick and easy read to see what exactly your goals will be throughout the different portions of the grant and what the activities will be. Thank you. The next piece of the puzzle is the signature form. This is the last form, and this is an acknowledgement that you'll need to sign and also get it signed by your chair, director, or manager. And this again will be submitted in a PDF version through the Google form. Thank you.
One of the things that I'm most proud about in terms of the learning and teaching grants is that this is that final goal of the grants, which is about building community. And so while we do go through an adjudication process and evaluation criteria, there is a rubric that is available currently on the website as part of this process, so that there's complete transparency. There should be no surprises when you're filling these the forms out. And even in the adjudication process, we've had the opportunity where we have there's been a missing piece where we've gone back to ask for more clarity. That's not to say we don't want a complete application in any way, shape, or form. I'm just using that as an example of wanting to really support the grantees in pursuing what they're wanting to look into and to build that community. The adjudication process, the committees that are made up of former LTG grant holders, faculty from across disciplines at this institution, and colleagues from partner units on campus. So whether it be OVP ECI, the library, we try to really, based on our priority areas, get a subject matter experts working together to look at these grants and wanting to ensure that, again, that the transparency is there. So the last point about the rubric being available currently on the website. Thank you. Next slide. So one of the other pieces that we ask that's part of required as being part of the LTGs is to do a midterm report and a final report. But even those are meant to be part of potentially a dissemination strategy. So when you write your midterm report, we're able to flag areas of potential concern or wanting of additional support that we'll meet with you to discuss potential ways to address concerns that are raised in your midterm. In terms of your final report, many have chosen to do a video interview, which is then made into what the inspired teaching catalog of videos that are on the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching website. And we have reported back that several faculty have used those in their teaching to share the kinds of projects that are being worked on and that dissemination piece. And again, to mention the Learning and Teaching Conference that happens every year, looking at how the work that you are doing with the grants can perhaps be taken up by your colleagues across this institution, whether it be for courses or in terms of developing their own research projects. And then all we ask is to mention the Learning and Teaching grants and any publications that you do. Next slide, please. Over to you, Jason.
Thank you. So throughout this process, the center is here to support you. And it's not just about questions. So, you know, whether it's bouncing project ideas off of us, evaluating potential ideas or potential grant processes that you might have. We have technical support and resources, including some amazing expertise on staff as well as technology. So the, you know, the Tech for Teaching Studio is just one perfect example of resources that we have to be able to support you. And, you know, one of the ones I really want to highlight, which I think is really important, is budget consultation. we've gotten really good at these, and we can sort of pick out things that could be potential savings, or we can say, oh, we already have this, or you have access to this, just to save you some money as well. So I really encourage you, if you are going to be submitting an application, please do not hesitate to reach out to us right at the very beginning to get that support early on. And then once you have a grant, we're here to support you in all sorts of different ways as well. So that support starts at the very beginning of the process all the way through to the end. And we have so many amazing people at the center who can help you in various ways.
Great. And then I think now we can turn it over to Zakaya, who's the manager at the Research Ethics Office of the Vice President, Research and Innovation. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Zakia Acha. I'm the director for Research Ethics. Sorry, that role has just been updated quite recently. Our office supports researchers across the university in all stages of the ethics review process. That could be pre-consults, post-consults, post-approval consults. One big takeaway from this session, again, I've provided a link to our website and everything that we provide. One key takeaway would be to consult as early as possible. We're happy to provide one-on-one consultations. You can drop into our open office hours. They're held virtually every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we also are happy to set up one-on-one consultations. We encourage researchers to factor in about 8 weeks for the review and approval process. It could take less time, it could take longer. We do have different streams for the review process, depending on the type of research that you're doing. But the biggest takeaway from this session, and of course the Q&A session, which is usually the hot area for these types of workshops, is to consider looking at our application as you fill out your funding applications, because it helps you kind of conceptualize your research and the types of questions that would be asked around your review process. So just factor that in, and I'm happy to answer any specific questions that anyone may have about the review process. Thank you.